Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to route out this reindeer image on some recycled pine, about an inch thick. Now I have done this project literally a couple of days ago. This is going to be a router one. The one I did previously was a scroll saw pattern. So there's our little reindeer. This is going to be the smaller sister. This is going to be Rita the reindeer. And this is going to be Rolo, the reindeer, the big brother. This one measures in at 8 inches by 5 inches. And this one will be 11 inches by 8 inches, I believe. So from that to there, 8 inches, yeah. So it's 11 by 8. So it's going to be the bigger brother, as you can see from that one there. Now this one was cut out on a scroll saw. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pieces to cut out, and you basically just glue it all together, put it on the little stand, and then put some wood dye on before we put it all together. So I thought I'd just try something different. So we've done it on a scroll saw. I wish I made a little video because I'm quite happy with the result on that one. Nice little fun project there. These are Steve Good patterns. If you go on the internet, online, just put in Steve Good catalogue, scroll saws. He has hundreds of patterns for you to use. So that's one of his. But I basically transferred it onto that recycled pine there, as you can see. I used tracing paper today. Literally got the image on my laptop or tablet, and I just zoomed it out to the size I wanted. And you can literally put your tracing paper over your laptop, and you can get away with it. Keep your hands away and literally just draw around it. And I can see exactly the same image we're going to use today. Because we are going to route it out, it's going to be on 3 different levels. The nose being the highest level, we'll drop down to the face itself and the legs at the front, shall we call them, and then we'll drop down further still to the antlers at the back. As always for me, we've got our wood sorted, we stuck it down with painter's tape, and I've popped my carbon paper underneath, and it takes a matter of minutes just to go around that and transfer the image onto your wood like so. Now there's different options for transferring. You could stick that paper straight onto there if you wanted to, printed paper, and route over the top. I've tried that the once, what a mess. There's also different images where you can put it in reverse with acetone or thinners, and you rub the back of the paper, and that will also transfer the image. I'll let you do your research on that one. For me, good old carbon paper and trace is the only way. You can see from there I've shaded in the areas that we're going to remove first, which is the deepest section. So all these shading areas, they will be the deepest. Then we'll raise the router up by a mil or so, and then we'll route out the crossed out sections, and then we'll obviously raise it up for no purpose than just to leave it, because we will not be touching the H sections. So they will be the highest point. Drop down to the cross section, and then we drop down to the shaded section. I always do the deepest ones first. That just leaves you more of an area, and we're going to leave it in this frame to make it easier. I find with myself, when I do this scroll saw, because we'll be cutting it out just so it's the same as the other one, I just find it easier to follow a nice solid line. So I'm going to cut this out first on a scroll saw. You could cut it out completely and just let that sunk inside and use that as your surround just for the router to run on. I'm going to basically cut it all out, and I'm just going to leave a little section there underneath and a little section at the top just to hold it in place. I do find with these little mats and stuff, as you're pressing on with the router, the wood sinks in, or one's higher than the other, so you tend to catch on little lips and stuff. So hopefully just leaving that little section there and that little one there. Then once we've done all our routing out and it's all complete, we can come back with a scroll saw and just saw that off, and then we'll just release it from the surround. If you're good enough, you could cut it all out and try routing it without the surround, but doing sections like this, your base plate's going to be all over the place. So I'll literally cut it out first with a scroll saw, everything but those 2 little sections. For me, I like to use a spiral blade. They cut in any directions, it's just a personal preference. You can also get pinless blades. They're obviously very, very excellent for small detail. If you want to get really into tight areas, because they have no pins on, and then you have a standard pin blade like so. All three will cut this out because it's just a simple case of going around the outside. So we'll cut it out first with a scroll saw, and then we'll come back and talk about the little bits we're going to use to route it out with. So we drilled our pilot holes, a couple at either end. We fed the blade through. This will allow us to cut this all out nicely. Remember, we're going to leave that little tab there at the top of the bottom, just so it keeps it with the surround of the wood. Like I said previously, you could cut it all out if you wanted to, but I do find with the router, as you're pressing onto this, it does just goes up and down slightly, and you might just catch it. So I'll leave the little tabs onto it, and we've got our blade fed through. Got a nice ping. You'll get used to that just about there, and you can take the tension up just so you get the nice sound, and then you're ready to cut. Okay, this is more of a router project than a scroll saw, so we'll quickly cut out what we need to do, and then we'll talk more about the router side of things. Right, we've gone all the way round with the spiral blade on the scroll saw. Pegas number 5. You can more or less see from that, and obviously if we turn it over, you can see we've cut it all out with the little tab at the top and the one at the bottom there. That's just going to hold it nicely in place, and that will allow us to put our router over the top without any issues of it tilting from side to side. The good thing about cutting it all out first and leaving it in place, we're going to lower these antlers down by, we'll say 3mm. When we route over, we can just literally just route over the edge there where that cut is. Doesn't matter, too concerned about it. That's our nearest section there. So we're going to go around there nice and steady. But the rest of it, we can literally just take it all out. Remember, it's already cut out. And when we remove this surrounding wood, that will all be nicely done already. Because obviously the spiral blade's done it for us. And the same along the bottom here and the side bits. We don't have to be too concerned. So for the top area, we basically just got to go across there with a router. And inside the ears, they want to be the same depth as the antlers and the same the mouth. Now it seems fairly deep, but remember we are going to lower the face by 1mm or so, or 2. So as you lower that down, obviously the mouth and the ear section won't be so deep because we removed a lot of the face area. And then we'll see how deep these eyes and the noses as regard them stopping at the top. So we don't need so much out of the nose because we won't be releasing any of the surround around the eyes. I hope that all makes sense. And also we will remove all this section around here. And then as we do lower the face, we'll be lowering those crossed out areas as well. So shaded areas first, then the cross sections at a slightly raised point. And then we'll obviously leave the H for the higher ones alone. Okay, for that we're going to use our good old CNC bits. I use these on all my projects. They'll be ideal. Just go around these lines here and inside the mouth and the ears and the top section of the antlers here. They have a 3.175mm shaft on them. I'm going for a 15° today. They're coming 15s, 10s, 20s, 30s. And that is literally just the angle of the cut on the end. Quite a pointer on this one. Be ideal. You can get it on there for you to see. There we go. Just that end there. 15°. 20s are my most favourite ones, but I don't seem to have any in the shed. But you will need an adapter collet, 6.35mm. And that literally just slots into the silver end like so. And that black section, that will go into your router. That's now got a 1/4" shaft on it if you've got a 1/4" router. Obviously 1/2" router, you're going to need a bigger adapter collet. So we'll set that to 3mm. I have a little gauge somewhere. I think that's plenty. Might be slightly more than that, in fact. What I have done, if I can just show you quickly, I've marked off 3 sections here on a piece of scrap wood. So the antlers, is it? They will go down as deep as that deepest point there. So the body, the antlers, and inside the mouth will be that deep. Then we'll raise it up to that section, and you can just put this on your router. We'll raise it up to that section and remove all the face and the 2 legs. Yeah, legs. Could call them legs, can we? I don't know. And then that will be the thickness of the nose and the eyes. You'll see as we progress with the project. So once we've done our little few lines, basically around the legs, like I say, at the front, and around the mouth, we will pop on our end milling bits. They have the same size shaft, 3.175. There's nothing too complicated on here, so we can get a decent size one, like so. And it is just a simple case of removing your CNC bit. You'll get a lot more projects out of that. We'll pop that in, and we'll set it to the same depth again, and start removing all the shaded area. Once it's all nicely all routed out and completed, we'll literally come back with a scroll saw and just remove the bottom section, top section, and then it's good sanding and cleaning up time. Right, just before we start routing it out, I've had a slight little change of plan as regards to the depths. Our original 3 lines was far too deep. That would have been the antlers down there, and then we would have came up to the face area and then up to the top. Just too thick, too deep is that. That's not leaving us a lot of wood to play with at the back of the head, shall we say. So we've come up quite a bit, as you can see. So the antlers will only go down that far, which works out at 6mm. We'll raise it up 3mm to do the routed out face area, and obviously that would be 3mm left for the nose and the eyes. You'll see as we go along. So our deepest area is that lowest point there. Obviously we've got our CNC bit in, and you might just see from there that just runs nicely in line with that pencil mark. So we draw the lower sections at that, and then we'll raise the router bit up to that section, then obviously we'll leave the nose. You'll see better as we go along. I just don't seem to be explaining it too well today, but it'll be on 3 layers in the end, I can guarantee you. Okay, let's start routing out the deepest section now. Right, you can see from that we've done our lines on the deepest section right through. Maybe a little bit too deep to go in one go. Any deep cuts you want to do in a couple of passes, because you can break your bits and also put too much strain on your router itself. But we managed to get all the way around. You can see there we've cleared out the ear section in one go, no problem. And that will be the depth. That's our deepest point now. So the antlers will need to be the same depth as that, as the mouth and as the body. So we're going to have to remove all that now. So just a quick case of removing the CNC bit from the router. We'll use that again in a minute when we go around the nose and the eyes and across the little paw sections there. Hoofs, should we say, not paws. So we're just simple case of popping in an end milling bit. Nice big one, there's nothing too complicated. We'll set it to one of the depths on here. These will all be the same, obviously. And basically just remove all the shaded out areas, and then we'll take more shape to it, and we'll get a rough idea what we're basically doing. Let's clear the shaded areas out first. Right, you can see from that we've made it all the way round. All our deepest sections are done now. To be honest, it's about 6 millimeters, 5-6 millimeters maybe. It's a little bit too deep to do in one go, but I got away with it. Any deeper depths, you'd be as well doing a couple of passes. So you do it once, lower your bit, and just nibble at it again. That way you're not going to put any strain on your bits or your router. But we got away with this recycled pine. So we've done all the antlers. We've done inside the ears, as you can see. The mouth's a good depth and all the body's nicely done. Now the next stage is literally just to lower all the bits that have the crosses on, which is all the face work. Those sections with the paws, we'll leave these here. That will be the highest point there, highest point on the nose, and the highest point on the surround. We will remove the center pieces. So working on the depth, we want to go half as much, and you can put your router on there easy enough. Put it on there with your bit and go literally to the halfway mark, and then we just basically remove all this face area, basically anything that moves crosses on. We'll do that next. So we'll get our little CNC, excuse me, I can't talk today, CNC bit on, and do around the nose and the eyes, and then we'll go back on with the end milling bit. So we'll just speed up that little section because it's basically identical to what we've done with this area already, but just not as deep. So we'll do that next, and hopefully it will start taking shape. Right, that's our next section done. So we've done the deep one, we've come to the middle section, and obviously the nose and the two hoofs there, we're going to call it, and the eyes, they will be left as they are. So we've gone round the nose, we've gone round the eyes. Just simple case of popping on the end milling bit again, and we're going to remove all the face area. Remember I said about the mouth looking quite deep, obviously when we skimmed over the face, and just these two front legs there and these two sections will look different again. So we've got a little gauge thing to go at, which is inside the eyes there, look, all that little section there. So we set it to that and basically remove the last piece of wood from this project. Right, that's it regarding the router side of things. You notice here we've got our three levels. So with the deepest point is the antlers, then literally come up that section to the face, and then we come up again for the eyes and the nose and the paws. You notice on this one, when we see the two at the end, I've left an extra hoof there. We're going to call them hoofs. On the original one, it just have the two there, but I've just quickly decided that I'm going to prefer it to have 4 little hoofs. So you'll see the difference at the end of the project. So the next stage now is just to release it from its surround. That worked out fairly well, just keeping it all intact like that, then it's certainly a lot easier to scroll over a single line like that than scroll over something where you have this one here and that depth will be 5-6 millimeters, whatever it was, to cut around there afterwards. So I always just prefer to cut out first. So we're just going to put it back on the scroll saw. Just remove that little tab there that's holding it all in place, and remember we have one at the top there like so. So we'll nip those off, and then we'll give it a general tidy up, and we'll see the better shape that we're looking for. Right, that literally took seconds just to remove those tabs from the top and the bottom. So that's our little Rolo, the reindeer, released from his surround. And you can more or less see the nice shape that we're going for. And you might just be able to see those different levels from there to going up to that one and going up to that one. So there's our basic shape all nicely done. Now I might make a little stand for this quickly just so we can show you at the end of the video. But this one will be hanging on the wall, so it will be a case of simply putting some string in there and a little hook of some description, just so we can hang him up. Whereas the other one is actually on this little stand. So far so good. I'm going to leave the 4 little hoofs here, just see how they go once we get the colour in. So for now, we're just going to general tidy up. I like to use these engraving bits on most of my projects, just cheap eBay specials. We get one with a nice flat bottom on it, which attaches to a flexi cable. I cannot recommend these enough. Just cheap eBay specials, nice flat bottom. And we're going to use that just to go in there and just tidy up those little sections that we can't get to, like so. And a good bit of sanding down. I want to round off these edges just so it's not too sharp. And then we'll clean up the little knobblies at the back. They'll actually take seconds like that with a bit of paper. You see that's just down nicely. And just a general quickly tidy up and maybe round off these atlas. Quick tidy up, and then we'll come back and decide if we're going to try and stain it like the original one, or we're going to pop some paint on there. Right, that's enough general tidying up and sanding down for me. We've rounded all those edges off nicely. We gave a little bit more shape in what it was before, and we've removed all those little nozzles off the back. And so far so good. It's still in one piece. Everything's looking fine. Now on little Rita, the original reindeer, if you remember our little one here, I used wood dye on these, a dark teak for the back and a lighter teak for the front section. So there's your dark one that I did the antlers with and the body, as you can see, and there's a lighter teak that we did the rest. Now it was okay on this one because these were all separate bits, so you could basically stain them all, let them dry, and then just glue it all together to give those 3 different layers, colours, and they're all nice and crispy. Obviously with this one it's a little bit more difficult because the dye does soak into the wood and stretch a little bit is the word I'm going to look for. So I've got to be a little bit careful. I'm going to try and paint it the same. Acrylic paints would work ideal if you wanted to paint it, but I'm just going to go with what we got and see if we can get away with it. And just show you, I've managed to get a bit on this brush here. This will be the dark. And you can see how that just spreads. So it takes one little line and it soaks and spreads. So I'm going to have to be a bit careful, but it's possible. And when we come up to the edges here, we'll just ease off a little bit and let it find its own way like so. And hopefully it should work out right. If not going to be the end of the world, is it? So I could continue with this. We'll do all our dark sections first, round there, and obviously we've got all the side bits to do as well. And then when we come back, we'll spray a bit of nice varnish on, just give it a nice shine. And we should be heading towards the finishing line. I'll continue with this with our light teak and dark teak dye. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So we have Rolo the reindeer. He measures 11 inches by 8 inches across. We routed him out on recycled pine using CNC bits for the lines and end milling bits for all the clear out. Remember, it's on 3 levels, so the lowest point will be the antlers. We come up to the face with the next level, and then we come up again for the eyes and nose, and that's the next level, and the hooves down there. And then we use wood dye to colour it with. We got away with that, no bleeding. It worked out fine. I even did a bit on the back there just to show you the lines. Originally I was going to put a hook on this one just to hang it up, but I made a quick little base. Simple screw underneath. You can unscrew that and that will come separated. There's no glue holding that in place. And then we obviously sprayed it with some nice clear varnish. I've got no preference to what varnish I use, whatever's at hand on the day. Just give it a little bit of a shine. It will be an indoor piece, so we don't have to be overly concerned about the finish. And that's Rolo done. Nice little fun project. Remember, we've made him to look after little Rita, his little sister there. That was done on a scroll saw. They both have their plus and minuses. Personally, myself, as a router, it hurts me to say this, but I do prefer the scroll saw one on this one. It just cut out a lot easier. And remember, it's in 10, 11 pieces. So there's a lot of glue involved to glue it all together again. But the staining wise, it all went well. So the scroller for me on this little project, yet again the router one's come out fine. That's nice and chunky, no glue involved. If anything, I did use the sanding drums to clean the front bit on. I should have just gone with sandpaper. I just noticed it's just left a little two-tone nose there for some reason, and you could sand that down and restain it in 5 minutes. I'm not personally bothered about that. I mean, he's got a nice shine trim as well. So they both got their places. I made a temporary little plaque, a little base for it to sit on, like I say. Just quick screw underneath. And that's it. These little fun projects are both finished. Just have a go and just enjoy what you're doing, really. Thank you very much for watching.